things can take a little bit with tweaking, repositioning. You never know exactly what's going to fall apart. So now that we have more time, we can do those things. Hello, Senior Bob. Hello, TMP Robinson. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Excited to do our show. Alright, just a second here. Oh my gosh, sound alerts. Okay. I was trying to get this to work and it looks like it actually is in there. So I was playing around with this sound alerts thing over here. Yeah, I was fooling around with it. Now you can, not that I think anyone in this channel is necessarily going to spend the bits to buy this thing, but it is there now. It seems fun. I'm going to change the sound over here. Cool. Oh, okay. Emo says, I've got all the computers dying here, so I'm taking advantage of the stay-at-home order. The new desktop arrived today. Nice. It's much cooler than I am. It's got a glass side and colored LEDs. Yeah, I got one of those. Sometimes I just like to go in there and look at it. Look at all the little fans spinning and the lights blinking. It feels like working in a space station. So I hope that everyone is enjoying their game design time and having fun working on some games. I know that a lot of people are pretty busy just with normal life stuff. I'm working more than usual, so yeah, now getting stuff on Tabletop Simulator and organizing events and groups. Been very busy, but managed to make some progress. Even just getting my games into Tabletop Simulator last week was a huge deal. Very excited about that. Not only for being able to play test digitally, which is a big thing now, but also just for future pitches. I have a few projects that I'm working on that I'm interested in pitching to people, and being able just to connect up with them and play the game with them digitally and remotely. I'm pretty excited about that, because anytime you send off a print and play, it's like you don't know exactly when they're going to get a chance to play it. There might be some complications, confusion with the rules, so on and so forth. So excited to actually sit down and play these games with some potential publishers. Do my live tweets. Live tweeting. Game on says, it's going to make me feel guilty if I can see all the dust inside every time I use it. Yeah, that's fair. I like looking inside of it, but that's also, I keep it underneath my desk, so I can look in there when I want, but I don't have to look at it all the time. I should probably send out a picture of my new setup, because I'm very excited and proud about it, but I'm waiting. We got some arms for the monitors to be able to adjust things more freely and open up the space here. Ideally, I'd like to get it so I can have my mini cutting board here and actually cut some physical paper cards, because I think that would be fun to have a camera set up so that I could make the physical prototypes here as well. But still got my monitors on the stands. I just have so many arms and levers and springs and things right now. It's kind of intense, but kind of fun too. So my plan for today was to play around a little bit more in Tabletop Simulator, because that was fun last week. Really enjoyed being able to show that off. I know some other people have been getting their games into Tabletop Simulator and also Tabletopia. Yes, and your Bob says, I got 2 games loaded into Tabletopia this weekend. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, I saw that you were posting some of that. As I mentioned last week, I'm doing a lot of digital play testing. I've opened up the Seattle Tabletop Game Designers Facebook group to non-Seattle people, because that's where I usually post the events for our digital play testing. So if you want to, I'm just going to go ahead and post that link again in case anyone has missed it. I just want the group. Yeah, there we go. Posting this again, especially if we have any new people. This is the Facebook group for my local game design group. Usually we meet in person, but now we're doing everything digitally. We're still doing our weekly Wednesday meetings digitally with Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia, wherever people have their digital prototypes. So that's a great way. We have a Discord for that as well to easily coordinate things. If you're still looking to test your stuff out, I definitely recommend, I'm going to show you a little bit today, using Tabletop Simulator or other programs such as Tabletopia. I was intimidated going into it, but now that I've done it even just a little bit, it was, at least for cards, it was pretty easy to get into. The tool is pretty robust. You can do some pretty complex things in it. I was playing was it Cheaters Blackjack? If you look that up on the Tabletop Simulator workshop, you can find that. And that's very elaborate. It's basically a video game. You've got a AI that deals out the cards. It plays the dealer for you in this blackjack, and there's powers and all sorts of crazy stuff. Very complicated processing powers in there. But again, if you're like me and you have some simpler card games, you just need to throw a deck of cards in there, then it can be pretty straightforward. If you do have any complications or questions, you can post on, we have a Discord for it. New York City Playtest is also doing an event on Tuesdays that's a little earlier in the day, a little easier if you're on the East Coast to join that one. And I think I post the link for that in the game designers group, but I can share that again as well if people want to get in there. Lots of opportunities to play test, and a lot of people are just coordinating outside of official events as well, and just hopping on Discord or Zoom to coordinate and do some play tests with each other, which is really cool. Yes, I think what we're gonna do today is this. Okay. This thing has a yellow screen around it. I think this is because it's showing what I'm casting right now, which is pretty cool. I got a lot of tabs open. I've been doing my D&D digitally now, so if you see like 5e or where's my rod? Celestial Elemental. Oh, Neverending Story, right. We had a rock giant, or a rock elemental, so I brought that up. And I have my rod of the Pact Keeper, my super sweet rod that I just got. Yeah. So usually what we do on the show is some brainstorming, talk about ideas, sketch out some ideas. Today, I think we're going to start with Tabletop Simulator. I'm going to change the view over here. Because I am going to attempt to do the New York City playtest thing tonight after the show. And I need to get my game ready. So last time on Board Game Design Daily, I need a better name for this show. Arena, there we go. Pop up Photoshop, perfect. Last time we were jamming on Heartcatchers. I'd mentioned that I got the rights back for this game. It was kickstarted in 2015 or 2016. Or 2014, 2013, I think it was like 2014. Released in 2016, I think that's what it was. Did a Kickstarter for it, sold it at some cons. People really enjoyed it, just a light card bluffing game. And now that I have the rights back to it, I'm excited to turn it from a 20 card game into an 18 card game, because since designing this game I realized that 18 card games were a thing. And make some changes to it, make it a little simpler to learn, a little more straightforward, and focus on the interesting bluffing choices. Yeah, so think I'll probably open up the other version that I had as well. Or maybe it's just in this. It's in a layer. That's what I did. Layers. I don't know why Photoshop doesn't auto open layers now. It's just like I'm always going to be using layers. Always be layers. Right, same. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't updated that one yet. Okay. Yes, this is a version. This is the original version. Just a few cards taken out to get it to be 18 cards. So the way that works, the cards, it's probably going to be a little bit small on the screen there, but the cards with a white text at the top of them here, they have actions. These are basically your bluffing cards. When you put these underneath other cards, they're going to be revealed at the end of the game. They're going to do stuff. Where you put these cards, because there's some good ones and some bad ones, is going to affect the scores at the end of the game. So over the course of the game, there's interesting choices of where you put the cards, and you're kind of trying to psych your opponent out with where you're hiding things, and every little action you do is another thing that makes them think, oh, did I put this here or there? There's a little bit of a memory element to it for me. The whole thing is only 18 cards, so each player start with 6 in the field, so each player only plays 6 cards, but even so, you can have a thing where you're just like, just the last turn, was that a positive or a negative card? I don't even know. So the original Heartcatchers had a rock, paper, scissors mechanism. I think actually, I'll zoom in here because we'll be able to see a little bit. Or out, either one works. So here it says blue catches red, green catches blue. Originally how I had it was the cards of the different colors went down on top of each other, and you have these symbols to represent which is which, to make it a little easier for color blindness, so it's not completely reliant on color. But what I really learned from this is just, it's really hard to internalize a rock, paper, scissors mechanic without rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is just so ingrained in us that it just sticks in our brain. And, you know, rock. And I guess there's a little bit of sense to it, like rock smashes the scissors. Okay, that makes sense. Paper covers the rock. Sure. Scissors cuts paper. So there's a little bit of a mnemonic device. That's what I'm looking in there. Mnemonic device to help remember exactly how those things work. But from, again, testing this game and just seeing it out in the wild because it was published, I was able to observe and see, like, people had fun. It was pretty easy to understand once they got things going, but that always really tripped people up. It was like, okay, so green, and people, one of the funniest things about this is people don't read cards. I think this is one of the most important things to remember as a board game designer. And, like, I play a ton of Magic, and I mostly just rely on memories. I read the cards a few times and then try to remember what they did. Nobody, even if you have text on all your cards, people don't want to read every card in their hand every single turn. Yeah. So they'll use, again, mnemonic devices. They'll use rubrics, shortcuts in the brain, because reading takes mental energy. When people are playing games, they don't always want to spend a lot of mental energy. So trying to rely on such a basic mechanic with a device that people have to constantly be thinking about wasn't great for the level of game. I want the interesting part to be I want people to get straight to the action so they can do the fun stuff of the game without having to worry what goes where. So last week I tested out a version that was numbers instead. And I bet you can guess exactly how this works. Like, should I let you guess? Give people a chance to guess, or just shout it out there? Senior Bob says, just take the jokers out. I know, that's just 2 cards, right? Get it down to 18 cards. Mr. Sam Bear Poet says lovely art. I can't take credit for that. This is actually, you might recognize it because I always recognize his art when I see it out in the wilderness, as Brian Patterson, who does a cartoon D20 monkey and has also done a lot of art for different games, different role-playing games and different board games. I think he did Bleeds in the Dark. No, maybe not. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. He's done a lot of art for different organizations, different role-playing games. My publisher, original publisher for this, hired him to do the art. Chances are good when I pitch it to new publishers that we're going to have to change up the art, but I did go ahead and purchase back the rights to this because I just love it. I think it's so cute. And you know, there is something to be said. Really what I should be doing now is going back to having very simple cards. Even if you have art, if you're going back to the drawing board and doing very early playtests, it's not always a great idea to have this level of production quality art because, well, first of all, getting rid of the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, so now these cards are exactly the same, but they're different colors, which makes you think they might be different. So I'm holding on to the art for now, partially because I'm streaming it and I just like it, but sooner or later I should probably go to an artless version, at least for playtesting purposes, because I don't want the art to be too misleading and confusing for people. Yeah, that reminds me, I'm going to grab my design notebook real quick because I had written down some notes and we're going to be making changes to the game, so I want to have these available. Also, you'll see that I'm editing here in sheet form. I have a couple of different ways that I make prototypes. Actually, just bring up one of my spreadsheets. Game design. What's got a good spreadsheet? Say abandon all artichokes. No, I don't think I did that. You look awful has one. Yeah. So I have a software that my friend Chris Glean designed, and it actually takes this spreadsheet and feeds it into the software. This is a great fast way to make lots of cards, not fancy layout or art or anything, but it just makes the prototypes quickly. And if I was editing the cards in here, I would actually just be able to change numbers. You know, if I wanted something to be 2 points instead of 3 points, I could just do that really fast in the spreadsheet, which I really like as an efficient way to get things done. The reason I'm doing it as a sheet is in part because Tabletop Simulator will take this sheet as an input and cut the cards up. It's a little slower this way because, for example, I have 3 Heartbreakers in the sheet, and when I want to change the points here, which I'm going to do in just a moment, I'm going to be editing each one of these individually. So watch me do this. I do not recommend it as a fast way to prototype, but this is kind of where my process is at, and I'm doing specifically, like, I recommend using processes that make sense and that work for wherever you are in your design process. Which one do I want to start with? I think I'm going to start with this one. Yeah, because that's just a duplication of that, right? Yeah, so don't follow the things that I'm doing verbatim. I also just have a ton of layers in this folder because, again, these had text on them, so yeah, I just covered up the text with these little purple boxes and wrote over it. Not super efficient, but it's just something that I can do on stream and make the changes without too much hassle. All right. Mr. Sandbearpot had asked about the art direction for this. Yeah, I gave the heart theme. Tim Rodriguez, who was my publisher, and I discussed it being aliens. So we wanted it to have kind of a space vibe to it, and the Heartcatchers were these creatures, and I should actually probably repost it, because I made this really cute and dorky backstory for why they were catching each other. There's a lot of love and feelings to it. So I gave a little bit of input, but the creation of these adorable heart monsters was mostly Brian, so he gets most of the credit for that. Team V Robinson, higher number takes lower numbers, but can anything take the 5? Yes, you are correct on the higher numbers. So these cards are going to be laid out on a table. There's going to be 6 different piles on the table. Starts with all 1s. That's actually a good suggestion for higher numbers taking lower, or for anything taking the 5, because right now I have it that 5 caps a stack. Let's see, it is Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. And it's an interesting design choice, right? For whether you want something to be capped off, so you can use that mechanically to stop other people putting things on top of that, or whether you want to have a sort of go back around to the beginning. Llama is the game I'm thinking of now, where you like put the llama down and you can start again at 1. Should 1s cap 5s? And also right now, the way that I'm starting out the board is that all the 1s start on the board. So that's an interesting decision too, and why I have these 2 folders in here. One where all the numbers are random, and the other where you have a starting setup for the game. But yeah, for now you can only go up with the numbers. And the idea behind that, to make it simple and straightforward, is like if there's a 1 out there and I can put a 2, 3, 4, 5 on top of it, it's a little more straightforward than the rock, paper, scissors catching thing. Email just says, my first thought to provide a player aid for a unique rock, paper, scissors scheme would be to use the card backs to show the order of the cycle. So every card becomes a potential player aid. Yeah, and that's interesting, because I actually play tested a game that was also an 18 card game where it was for the identical card contest that was late last year. And that one you can't have player aids in it. So having them be, so you're not having extra cards outside, is a very great way to communicate the function of that. And often you have it done with just the arrows and then circles, so then one points to another one. And I think like the tricky, like even just showing it in iconography, because you're trying to communicate, like you can have, you know, red circle and it points to a green circle and a blue, so you understand the cyclical nature of it. But the arrows, it's like, how do you communicate this, put this card on top of this other card? Verbs in iconography is something I've been thinking a lot about recently, and it can get tricky. Yeah, circle icon on there. Kind of like the 3 arrows for the recycling symbol, and put the 3 cards types in there. Yeah, Mr. Sandberg Poet. Yay! Congratulations! You win internet points. Yeah. I should probably... like, I don't know if I can actually award internet points here. I should probably figure out a way to do that. Yeah, so the first thing that came out of my play test, and this was really fascinating. If you do have the opportunity to go back and reapproach a design that was finished and released in some way, it can be fascinating to see some of the decisions that you made in the past. And you look back, it's like, why did I do that? It's just like, I don't know, it just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. So there's Heartbreaker cards and Ultimate Love cards. These are going to be face down under the stacks and revealed at the end of the game. One is plus 3 points and one is minus 3 points. So they're plus and minus. Obviously, they should be equal. But the way that works out in the game is often there will be multiple Heartbreakers and Ultimate Loves on one side. So I'll flip them over, and Ultimate Love, Heartbreaker, they'll just cancel each other out. Which is kind of nice for the math, but it also kind of makes it a non-factor. Also, it makes it so sometimes you have negative scores, which is funny for me. I don't know if it's as fun for the players. But so one of the playtest suggestions is like, oh, what if the Heartbreakers and Ultimate Loves, like one is still positive and one is negative, but they're not the same amount. And this is something that never even occurred to me. And there's some trade-offs there. So the fact that it is easier to resolve, I'm just like, these cards, they cancel out, they're out of the game. But it also makes it kind of feel like that was wasted. Sometimes there's an equal number of Heartbreakers and Ultimate Loves, so some games definitely end where all the Heartbreakers and Ultimate Loves are just gone, and now you just have your face-up cards, which is simple. You don't have to add and subtract a bunch of numbers, but it can also feel like a non-effort. Like all those actions that you took, quote unquote, don't matter, which isn't always good for games. Usually, I want to be able to demonstrate that things have value. Give you positive feedback. Your actions have meaning. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is keep the Ultimate Loves at plus 3 points. Go ahead and take this. Again, art is great, but doing these little things, having to cover up different areas of the cards is because I'm using the art and being stubborn about not simplifying it. That is really big text. Right, we're going to say -3. No, it was -3 points. -2 points. So this way, if you do have an Ultimate Love and a Heartbreaker, this is basically going to be reduced to 1 point. Which is kind of nice too, because what that means is you can just put it as one of your face-up cards and get rid of the Heartbreaker card. Ideally, what is nice about, I don't want too much math in the game, because it's nice that you're not really points tracking. Most of your points are just number of cards. So I have 10 cards face up in front of me, I have 10 points. It's kind of an easy way to keep track of your score. And there's a little bit of math at the end of it, but not too much. And it definitely really depends on the game, because many games have much math. It all has to do with finding out what works for your game. And testing specifically with your game. Alright. Gonna go ahead and take that and find my next Heartbreaker. Just down here. Oh my gosh. Alright, -3 to -2 points. And my layer system is just an absolute nightmare right now. I really hope nobody's copying this, because it is not the best way to work. Well, having to go back and figure out exactly what I've done here is going to be kind of a pain. move this up so it's not clipping under there. Cool. Alright, so we changed the points gradation there. The next thing, and this will be kind of fun to look into and talk about, is the powers. So, again, I love that I'm doing kind of a retrospective of the game design of this. It's been a long time since I worked on it, so it's fun to see and try and remember why I made the decisions that I had made. So, for example, you'll see here that there's a bunch of cards that don't have any special powers. Same above says, but love is mathy. Layers by MC Escher. Oh, it hurts. But yeah, pretty much. You'll see that I have a lot of cards here that don't have any special effects. So, uncatchables. Those are funny. Like, those ones, it's interesting. When I first did it, you could put those cards down on top of any pile and you wouldn't be able to put anything on top of them. So now with them being 5s, it kind of serves the same function, which is interesting. The other thing that's interesting is with the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, you could get a really big pile. So you could just take one stack back and forth for the whole entire game. So you could get 6 or 7 cards in there, whereas now max 5, and that's if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it definitely changes the parameters of that a little bit. But there's a lot of cards that aren't the 5s that are just blank. And what I've done for this version of the game is made them 1s, and kind of one of the interesting things that I'm looking at now is, do I want to start with all 1s or deal it out randomly? So here's a trade-off between how easy is it to get into a game and dive into a game. A lot of card games, especially more mass market card games, are shuffle and play, right? Shuffle it up, you have simplest formats where you have one deck and everybody's working from that one deck and you don't have hands or anything. Slightly more complicated is one deck and people get individual hands. Banal Artichokes has a little more setup, so you have your artichokes in your hands, and you have the market decks, you have a few other things, and that's a game that does have some setup. So for this version of Heartcatchers, I've put 1s on these cards, and now I have it so that we start out with just 1s on the field. I should really just bring up Tabletop Simulator and go back and forth between that. So I realize I'm trying to gesticulate and explain how everything is laid out, but Tabletop Simulator means that I can just show you because I have it laid out there. It's really handy. Create single player. And what? I think this is our latest Heartcatchers. Yeah. Throw the cards around. Yeah, so since the colors don't matter anymore, basically just going to be a preset out fields. So in this version, I'm just going to select all that, press G to put it back into a deck, flip it over. Has the right number in there, shake it, shuffle, yeah. So the two potential options are to have it like this and lay it out with the 1s cards, or, and then, you know, I'm gonna draw my hand here. You're gonna have a hand of 3 cards, and every card that I get is going to be able to go on top of one of these things. The other option take these out of my hand. I love that G just puts it back into the deck. So much easier that way. Shuffle. There we go. Flip it over. Zoom in. It's a little tricky to see this. Shuffle. The other option, even with the numbers version, is to deal out a random field. I guess you'd have to start from an orientation. Oh, we're still getting a fair number of ones. I guess, well, there's more ones in here. So that's an interesting thing, too. Do we want to start with more ones? There's potential. So now, this is how the original Heartcatchers, which we have over here, is created. That any card can come out. So this can kind of affect exactly what your options are going to be. And I believe how Mr. Sam Bear Poet had mentioned the question of whether wrapping around from 5s back to 1s sometimes intuitive, sometimes people just assume that they can put, like, oh, why wouldn't I be able to put a 1 back on here? Or any number, I guess. Yeah. If you lay everything out, it cuts down your options, right? If they're all 1s, I could put any of my cards on any of these. But the way it is now, I can put the 5 on any of these. You do so just by doing like this. But I wouldn't be able to put the 2 onto the 4 as an option. So that would kind of limit. I wouldn't be able to put the 2 on the 2 either. The other thing it does is changes what powers you're going to get be available in the deck. That was another suggestion too, was to take a couple of cards out of the deck. Maybe 1, maybe 2. I've been keeping even turns, but again, everything is open for playing around with here. Because there is a certain, as things get played out, you can kind of guess what's left and what powers are available. Although you can still play power cards face up, or do them face down as secrets underneath the game. Or underneath any of the piles, and those are revealed at the end of the game. So yeah, let's go back to Photoshop, now that I've explained all that. So I think one of the things we talked about in the most recent playtest is adding more powers. And I think adding more powers goes along well with this option of dealing out a random field, because it means that the powers you'll get for any particular, the powers you'll get will change from game to game. There would be 6 blank cards in the first version, or in this version of the game that we're showing right now, but do we want to replace those 6 blank cards so everything has a power? You might just think, yes, more powers is better, right? Why wouldn't I want every card? I don't want these boring cards. I get this one, it doesn't do anything. Again, unless we just set up the field with those. But it doesn't, like, kind of thinking what's out here. Like, if, oh, there's a bunch of powers out in here, and you're say, like, oh, all the Heartbreakers are out here. Okay, how is that going to change the game? It can very much change the game and create more interesting decisions in there. But the other thing it does do is, yeah, right now, let's say this one was in my hand. This card is simpler. It's almost like an oasis in my hand. If you have things like in Magic, you have a 2/2 for 2. You have just a flat vanilla creature, very simple, or you just have a land, right? The fact that you open up your 7 card hand of Magic and a bunch of them are lands really narrows down the decision space you have and the number of branching paths, like, oh, I can do this one and then this one. If every turn And a lot of more recent card games do that because they're like, oh, mana mixed into your hand, it's not good because sometimes you get flooded or screwed. It is a problem, but it does mean that you can look at your hand and kind of every card that you don't have to think too much about is a little bit of a resting space. I don't know if that's necessarily what we want. Again, for an 18 card, you got to pack a lot of 18 card game, got to pack a lot of game into each card. So I want to try it with the powers. I'm a little concerned about not having something like a simpler card in there, but let's do it. We gotta figure out some powers. Yeah, we got 6 cards. The way I have it set up now is each power appears on 3 cards. I don't necessarily have to stick with that again because that was the tricky thing too, because it was broken into 3 colors. A lot of the design decisions I made were mathematical for how I was gonna. It's like, oh, I need to have one of each of these on the card so it's balanced for cards or whatever. But now I could have, I have 6 cards to put powers on, so I could do 6 different powers. I could do 2 different powers, 3 of each, or I could do 2, 2, and 2. I could do 3 different powers, each on 2 cards. It's all sorts of fun options. It's starting to get a lot of spam here. Just hold on a sec while I clean this up. Spam. Okay. So yeah, let me bring up my document. Let's do some brainstorming. Heartcatchers powers. Oh shoot. I remember the big thing that came out of playtesting. Okay. Oh man. Yeah, so I was talking about you can tell you've hit the big time when the robo spammers come visiting. Yeah, people just have more time on their hands. So I had play tested this, and during the play test, I was brainstorming different themes with people. We don't have to stay with the Heartcatchers themes. Probably gonna go away. The name's gonna go away. Everything. I can make themes that are about stacking things, or people had said the bluffing lends itself very well to a spy theme. You're trying to hide stuff, hidden information, trying to expose your other spy. But then we talked about the original theme. I mentioned before, this is a game that I first made as a Valentine's Day present for my husband. And so love was hearts, like it is all very thematic. So during the playtest, they had said, what if the goal of the game is to make your opponent, now partner, have more points than you? So yeah, I was like, that's different and pretty cool, because I can't really think of any other games. If you can think of anything that does that, let me know, because I can't think of a lot of games in which your goal is to make your partner have more points. And it gets into this weird territory of, well, who wins then? If my goal is to make you have more points, then I win, but you have more points. I guess my question is, I wonder if that would really communicate what I was trying to do. Because some games, you win by having the fewest points. But does just saying that your goal is to give your partner the most points, does that communicate the feel? Because I think that could be a really fun feel. And the game can be mechanically very similar. So you have the negatives and the positives, but you're trying to hide the negatives on your side so that your opponent doesn't try and get them. I don't know. I just remember that was a version of it at the test, which I don't have to change it too much mechanically, but that could change a little bit the powers that we're going to be brainstorming here. Yeah. So I was looking at my notes. I was like, oh, what do we... And then thematically, your goal would be to give your partner the best presents. So it's this weird, it gets into a weird psychological territory, which I really kind of love. It's like, well... So it's partially some of the guilt you feel. It's like, oh, but you got this amazing present, and you're so thoughtful, and I thought that I was thoughtful, but maybe I wasn't thoughtful enough. Into this double thinking of like, are my presents good enough for you? Am I loving you good enough? Game answers the question. Am I loving you good enough? Question mark. Golf, yeah. Gloom, you want everyone else to be happier. Yeah, and I like that. Like, I love what Gloom does with that. So, yeah. I think what this is going to come down to is probably pitching a couple of different versions of the game, because it is fairly simple and straightforward. It'll be interesting to see what potential publishers think about having that be as an option. Give your partner, and just a lot of the framing of the language and the way that you describe the game can give it a different feel. So instead of saying your opponent, you say your partner. Instead of saying your goal is to get the fewest points, you're saying your goal is to give your partner the most love points. Alright. And you can also, like, that's one spin on it, but what if you say goal is to make your partner win by having the most love points? So the game says your goal is to make your partner win. And using the word goal, too. So instead of saying you win by giving your partner the most love points, your goal. So the goal versus win language is a very subtle way to push that in a particular direction. That's another thing that we had discussed in the playtest is what... This is a very deep question. What does your game communicate? So for me, designing board games professionally, my goal is to make things that a good number of people would want and be able to understand. I have way weird indie projects as well, but ultimately, to make a living doing this, you want to have at least a few things that appeal to a wide number of people. So, what communicates that this is a bluffing game? Because some people really like bluffing games. I think it's a very good mass market mechanic. It can be very appealing to more casual gamers because there's some strategy here, but it isn't super mathy strategy trying to plot out your course. It's more head games, mind games strategy, right? Well, like, well, you probably did this, but if you thought I did this, then you would have done this, and kind of that. It can be very juicy for a lot of people. I like playing that kind of a game. But for my playtesters, they said looking at this game, that they wouldn't have expected it to be a bluffing game. So if someone just sees your game on the table, you know, what kind of game do they think it is just looking? Heartcatchers is okay with that, because if you do see it on the table, you know, you have some face down cards, so it's like, okay, there's some hidden information here. But if you just see it on the shelf, you know, just a heart package, like you see a picture of an alien heart, it doesn't really communicate bluffing. Again, if it goes into this, like, oh, be really nice to your partner direction, So I'm not sure exactly what that's going to communicate. If it's a spy theme, they were saying that it might be more clear that it communicates bluffing. Again, it's not like that's when you're making decisions about your game design and your game theme, that's not necessarily the top level question you're trying to answer, because, you know, there's a lot of games out there that, especially more complicated Euro games, you know, so many boxes, like midweight Euro game, and it has some people on the front of it in Rome. That doesn't say a lot mechanically about the game. But because there are a lot of games in that sphere that look like that, so it has the weight and the history of the games that came before to kind of help you understand what you're buying when you buy this game. And I would say Button Shy games with 18 card games is very interesting about that, because they have a very similar form factor from game to game, but mechanically and thematically and game feel wise, they're just very, very different from each other. Iman said, Fox in the Forest has a scoring mechanic where you get more points in a round if you lost all of the tricks. Yeah, it has some fun things to it. Both players won about the same number of tricks. Yeah. More spiteful, we could try, could be trying to get the other players to have more poisonous snakes than you. I don't know if that's the direction I'm going, but I love that for a game. I don't know if that's this game, but that sounds like a really fun thing. You want to make your partner as happy as possible. You want your partner to feel as loved, appreciated as possible. Yeah. But it's like competitive too. Like it's not meant to be cooperative. It's not, because that's a little bit of different of a framing. It's like you're supposed to work together so you both get the best scores. It's like, no, it's like competitive romance. This is a little weird. I gotta sit with it a little bit. I want to test it with that as well, to feel. Do I like the way that it feels? I gotta play it to see if I like the way that it feels when it's actually on the table. Lots of double think, yeah, for sure. Sounds very Princess Bride, and Wesley being all as you wish and wanting to give more to Buttercup to show his love. Very much so. It's also kind of like the old adage, tale of woe, of the combs, like the woman cut off her hair to get something for her husband, and then he did a thing to get combs for her hair, so they both sacrificed themselves to get a thing that then wasn't useful at all for the person they were getting to. Bluffing feels more secret admirer. Yeah. So I guess you could be two secret admirers who admire each other, secretly trying to woo the other better. All of these are great, by the way. Like, I think, and that's the fun thing about themes for board games in particular. Like, it's never going to be perfect. And there's so many games out there that you look at the theme. Games do better and worse themes. Some are just very tacked on. You're like, okay, I guess this is the theme. This is what the art says, but I don't feel it at all. But even if I can't find a perfect, rational, logical explanation for it, I still think this idea of like, oh, you're just trying to give them the most points still feels pretty good. Box of spiders or box of chocolates? Senator Bob, I don't think I'm doing this right. Gosh. That's like a Schrodinger's cat thing. Box of spiders or chocolates? It's both until you open it up, and then you're sad. Is your partner an arachnologist? Because maybe they want to get a box of spiders. That's a good point. I'm the most humble, the better spouse. It's an interesting twist. Yeah. Yeah, I think the trick with this, like keeping it, not getting too wrapped up into them players having to get their heads into it. And that's the test, really. If you can put it in front of people, it's like your goal is to give your partner the most points because you're trying to impress them with your romance. Them the most with your realments. Still competitive. Gift of the Magi. Yeah, thank you, game biologist. You just know everything. I don't know if it's just you know everything that I'm trying to figure out or if you just know everything in the world in general, but you are a very good and helpful resource. And you too, Senior Bob. Just like, I get brain farts all the time. It's very helpful to have people remind me of these things. The 2 secret admirers wooing for the same person. Yeah, that's an option. My brain is a repository of random, often useless information. It's useful for me. It's handy. It's good for board game design. Let's say that. Alright. So, Heartcatchers powers. I'm trying to read through my notes to see if I had anything. We did have some thoughts going back to Tabletop Simulator of whether, like, once there's a 5, potentially maybe you can't put anything underneath it. Like, the interesting thing about this sort of a bluffing game is it does give a lot of power. You kind of want to be the second player in a game like this, because being able to do the very last move, especially if there's a card that's just ultimate love, 3 points, you just put that under your side. There were some questions about whether like you get to play first and then at some point play switches. So you get to play first and last. Like the other person gets to play 2 cards in a row. I don't know. Anything with that, it just gets, like, I want to keep it clean and simple. Again, there's a lot of games that have a lot of complex rules, but for this weight of a game, I want to make sure that I keep it fairly approachable. Approachable. I always end up saying accessible. I think approachable is a better word for what I'm trying to say. What do I got here? 7. I got all these piles of cards. Yeah. Okay. And we'd also talked about having some cards that do something when they are played face up. So not everything is a secret that's revealed at the end of the game, and could potentially make it more complex, but add some interesting gameplay in there. I think I'm going to switch back over to this. We can do some sketching, sketch out some ideas. Face up. So this could be something like peek at a card. The other thing about this game, I don't know if I've showed it before, you might have seen, but it's not completely obvious. So you can just play a card. I can't. Interesting. Can't play it on my side. Let's do this. So if this is how the game starts out, you can just play a card on your side. This is worth 1 point. Every face-up card is worth 1 point at the end of the game. Or if you play it on your opponent's side, you actually get to swap with one of your piles. Oh my god, I put it in my hand, and that is literally the worst thing that's ever happened. I think that must have been a 1, right? I should probably zoom out here a little bit. Alright, so you get to take this one. Another question about whether it should only swap with the one directly across. Originally, how I had the design is that you could swap it with any one of the ones on the other side. And this one, because there's secrets going underneath stuff, is a little bit of a shell game where you're rearranging the field of the game over time. Yeah. Yeah, so you can take things from... Yeah, I realize this is in the wrong view there. Yeah, so you can take if I'm gonna put this over here and catch this, at least as originally set up, you can come over here and swap this with any of them. So it makes it a little harder for you to remember exactly where you put your secret. Let's see. Secrets. Let's say for now we could have both face up and face down. You could do some interesting thing if they're face down, like a peek option, you know. Which isn't, because there are no choices made at the end of the game, this is only relevant during the course of the game. But another thing, like, what if you can make choices at the end of the game? Again, the way it's set up now is you make all your choices, you rearrange things, put stuff under stuff, and then it's revealed. There's kind of this big reveal moment at the end of the game, which is very fun. If you're making choices during that, it can potentially... I don't super want to add that, but you could potentially do that and have interesting options, like if this is revealed on your side, swap 2 piles. One of your piles for an opponent's pile. And you can do a lot of this, like if this is revealed. Yeah, so if that one, say that was over here as a secret, it's like, oh, this one's revealed at the end of the game. Oh, it's the one where I can swap 2 things. I'm going to swap this pile and this pile. And that gets pretty crazy because it depends when during the reveal. Because right now it doesn't matter. Oh man, that would get super weird. Right now it doesn't matter in what order the piles, the secrets are revealed. But if that was the case and you knew where that was, you might, like, who gets to choose which piles to reveal gets super crazy unless you have a rule for starting at one end. Just a revealer or start from a particular direction, because now all of a sudden order matters. Order of reveals mattered. Oh, let me actually... Oh, shoot. Huh. I was saying that we have up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I was saying we had up to 6 slots for new powers, but it's actually 9 because the uncatchables now, they kind of have a power because they're 5s and you can put them on top, but we could also just do new powers on there. Interesting. Back to our dock over there. What was the other one I was thinking? When this secret is revealed. This is also potentially putting a lot more text on the cards, which not necessarily a huge fan of that. I like the simplicity of text on there now. Having a few lines on there. The secret is revealed. Turn the top card of the stack into a secret. Also, can I write powers in such a way that they're pretty simple and straightforward? Yeah. So if that was on this card, this would be revealed, and all of a sudden this would become a secret and go under... okay. Yeah, let's say that this is here, and then this is here. So if it was like this, and this secret came out and said, okay, top of... So this would come out... Whoop, not in your hand. It's just over here. Yeah, and this one, now this becomes a secret underneath here. So this is change of heart. And that would come out, and then these piles would swap. So then, that would be kind of interesting, because you, for the most part, you don't have to think about any of the... And again, that keeps it's simple. You don't have to think about any of the text on any of the face-up cards. Because once they're face-up for the rest of the game. They're just worth 1 point each. But if potentially whatever was on top of that stack could be flipped over, then that would be interesting. What about snaking turns? Yeah, I think that's a good potential option as well. Where's my notes? Is there a second player advantage? I don't really think so. I think it's simple enough game. It goes fast enough that there's not really a noticeable one, but if so, doing it. No, that was wrong one. Copy. And the same thing, like the going back and forth is just such a natural thing to do. Breaking that by doing a snake turns thing, it would have to make the game much, much better. Like that's with where I currently design games. There's often a design choice that will make things moderately better in some situations. Like if it makes the game more complex and it's just way better in every situation, then yeah, sure, make the change. But there's a lot of ones that are kind of borderline like that, and if it adds any amount of complexity to the game, like I usually make things there's got to be a really good reason for adding complexity, and for the most part for complexities that break whatever is just traditional or normal, expected like the expectations, for breaking the expectations of, you know, so you take this deck and you shuffle it versus not shuffling a deck. You know, it's often very natural for people to just pick up a deck and shuffle it. So you need to have a really good reason to not do that. And for your target audience, it really matters. I'm making for a more casual mass market audience. So for them, even more so. I mean, for them, just a lot of the things that seem so normal to me, like having a draw pile, having a discard pile, can be tricky to communicate. Hello, Ritz21. Thanks so much for popping in. Oh my god, the art for this game is so cute. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Again, can't take credit for that. Brian Patterson, D20 Monkey, is an amazing artist, and I think this project in particular is one of his better ones. I'm tied to it. I can't wait to get a tattoo. Actually, that's one of my hashtag life goals, is to get a tattoo of one of these things, because they're just so cool. Well, it says, what if your opponent decided what order your hidden cards were revealed? Yeah. They could do that. Yeah, I mean, part of that is just like, honestly, for me playing this game most of the time, I just completely forget where I had put the different things. And so I'm just like, I don't know which one to reveal first. But it could be, especially if we do end up leaning into that, I'm trying to give you the most points possible. So if one player goes first, gets to reveal all the secrets on the other side of the board in any order they choose. That could be a fun moment, because for what I do now is usually I'm running the game or demoing the game, so I'll be the one to do secrets one by one. Like, having a third person do it is kind of fun, especially someone who can resolve all of the things. But yeah, if we're trying to make it be so that your goal is to have your partner get the most points, that could be fun to reveal and see how you succeeded or failed. Oh, I like that. Leans into the theme. Reveal for your partner how well you succeeded or failed, giving them a lot of points. Have a pleasant evening, everyone. Thank you so much, TMP Robinson, for joining us. Really appreciate having you here. Keep it frosty. Cool. This is good. We're getting some more meta structure of the game, which I like. Some of the things I think in the original rules were left a little up to interpretation, like who reveals the secrets was never really discussed. So this is a nice way to give a little bit more direction during that phase. Alright, so I kind of like the power. One of these becomes a secret. So is that going to loop infinitely? It's not going to loop infinitely. You could just churn through the whole stack, which would get rid of all those points, which would be kind of funny. I kind of like that. So that's pretty good. Just highlight that. Yeah. Oh. Turn off highlighting. Yeah. What else? What other ideas do we have for some secrets here? Plus points. We could do just different amounts of plus and minus points. That's a little interesting. That's like... Question is that interesting enough? Like if you have -1 point, +1 point, kind of adds a little bit more to the math aspect of it. I'll put that in the notes. I'm not entirely sure. Just have different levels of points. Oh man, you could have a shoot the moon, total score multiplier, or a stack doubler. That could be kind of cool, actually. It does go more mathy. But it could make it more interesting for, because this has 3 cards in it now. So if you doubled this, we'd be worth 6 points. And then the question would be ultimate love. Change of heart. Ultimate love. So, and then if you put an ultimate love underneath it, would it also double? So, because the way that I had in the past is I would just give this card, I would just put this in front of someone and it would say like, oh, now you have +3 points. And they would do their math here first and figure out their point modifier before figuring this out. But it could be that any point secrets add or subtract. Oh man, that could work really funny for a duplicator. Because if you had, oops, if you had just one card here and then you had a Heartbreaker and this new doubler card that we're working on. So it would be -2 points +1. This pile would be worth -1 points doubled. So the whole pile would be worth -2 points. Okay. I think maybe that's not so bad. Again, a lot of this is, it's very interesting, especially with a layout type game of this. Like we're in some weird place here. Something as subtle as where in the rules you say to put a card during certain phases and times of the game can make people act differently. And make the game feel very different. So, for example, it's just like, oh, well, you've got a Heartbreaker, and you've got an Ultimate Love, and you've got another Heartbreaker. So this is -2, -2, so it's -4, +3, so that becomes a -1. And then you add that to your total. As opposed to going stack. Ooh, no, come back out, come out. Adding up the stacks separately. So this whole stack would be 0. And then you'd be able to do math on the different stacks. Could be cool. Let's say stack doubler or stack tripler. Multiplication, also, if you're talking about the different types of maths that you're going to have in a casual game, multiplication can really up the complexity level and make it a lot less approachable than just having straight addition. So that's a question. That might be too complicated. In this version, the Heartbreaker Ultimate Love cards are attached to their own stacks. Add up the stack total. then use the multiplier on that. Alright. It says, wouldn't an ultimate love let you turn any 5 into a 1 or 1 into a 5? Really flip the balance of the two scores to put your opponent into the lead. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, well, that's... See, that's the tricky part. And I hadn't really thought too much about that. But these, like, the numbers aren't actually the scores. In my headcanon, the numbers are used mechanically for showing which card you can put on top of another card. But that's not what your points are. But the fact it seems that you are interpreting it this way means maybe that is... I'll change my angle here. Maybe that is the way that people will interpret it. Huh. I had some inklings that this could be a thing before, but it's a good question. Will people think this is more mathy? The numbers on the cards are the scores. 1 point per card. Could have a separate section on the card. Making it really clear, because it's not something that I currently say on the cards, it's just something in the rules. But yeah, having more of the stuff on the cards can potentially clutter it up a little bit, but can act as a good reference guide instead of having to remember all that stuff. Face-up cards are each worth 1 point. Or just make the numbers on the cards be the score. What kind of math are we looking at here? Yeah, the other way that gets tricky is the secrets generally aren't worth, like, the secrets aren't worth the 1 point each. So if it's a heartbreaker or an ultimate love, it has its score on it. Because that can get kind of weird if you're pulling out. Because usually what I do here is I take out this secret. Once it's done its action, then it just comes kind of over to the discard pile over here. So I guess you could have it... Maybe you stack up your cards like this. If we were to say that the points were the numbers, and then we might get a score of, like, I should probably put these in order. 6, 10, 13, 18. So you'd have much higher scores. So what's interesting now is people often have -1 or 0 or like a 5 as a score. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. For memorization purposes. because I do like the idea of that power. Got a couple of thoughts going on here. In a version where the face-up cards are worth their stacking number, Ultimate Love could switch a 5 in the stack to a 1, and vice versa. Switch a 1 to a 5, I'll say, because you're doing it on your opponent. You're making the choice on your opponent. And that is kind of cool. Compelling. Just as a UI thing, UI fixes, because I think a lot of the stuff in this game is UI and UX. And one of my goals for this is just to make the cards look nice, but also really kind of make sense. It's a lot of work to put just on a card to communicate so much information and not be too confusing or too intense. But communicate how many points. It's like I keep talking about this being a simple game, but there's a lot of stuff writing on each individual card. How many points it's worth, how to mechanically stack it. It has a secret on there with the power. Have a segment that shows how many points the card is worth when face up or when played as a secret. Questions to answer. Should cards still be worth points when played as secrets? Some people assume in their first play that they still get points for playing secrets. So that's a little bit of a confusion there. That'd be nice to simplify. The empty urban setting background you're using makes these sessions feel like a surreal version of Shelter in Place, where you decided to play games in the middle of the street since nobody was around. Oh my gosh, right? It's a little too on the nose. Now, well, there's some people over there, I think. Yeah, there's some people huddling over there, which kind of makes it worse, because it's just there's no one here except for that little huddle of people near me. Beware having two numbers on the cards with two different meanings. Yeah, nobody will reliably remember which is which. If you need two different numbering systems on the cards, place one with icons to better differentiate themselves. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, even, again, people don't read cards. So even if it says very clearly in a box, like, these are the points that this card is worth, it can be tricky. Which I have right now, because I have, on the Heartbreaker, for example, it's got the 2 now for the stacking value and the -3 for the points. Which it says points, but still. It's, again, coming back to the original changes, that's kind of the nice thing about the rock, paper, scissors, is it didn't have any numbers to it, but I still think the numbers thing is going to be clearer. It's a familiar approach to have a card game where every card has a value and some have powers. When you play a card with powers, you have to decide if you're playing it for its face points and don't get to invoke the power, and don't get to score the face points. Okay. Cool. Yeah, as long as that's something that's fairly readable for people. All right. Getting close to coming up on our 2 hours now for the stream. Let's say, think a little bit more about powers. We're coming up with some good stuff here. Even though we didn't come up with a lot of different directions, which is interesting. different powers that might work in different scenarios. But it's kind of opening up the design space of the game, which I think is really cool. Because for such a simple game, there's a lot of different things that I could do with it. And I think that's very fun. One of the reasons that I really like designing small card games and why it can be a really good design exercise, because I can take this and just based on everything we've talked about, have 3 or 4 versions that I could take to a digital playtest night, for example, like the one that is happening tonight or tomorrow, and test out. Each game takes 15 minutes. I don't even have to play a full game if things kind of fall apart. Just kind of go back and forth and get a feel for it, be able to test a couple of different things, and you learn a lot for what kinds of things. You start to develop your own design rubrics for kinds of things, like Game Biologist is saying here, for, people, if there's too many numbers on a card, people don't know which number means which, and you will see that very quickly in a playtest. So some ideas here, different points, some sort of a multiplier thing. Man, I do have to say this, I'm really happy getting into Tabletop Simulator here and being able to show this to you. Part because it looks cool, but also because it's easier, for this game at least, for me to demonstrate flipping things over and thinking by manipulating the pieces. I think a lot of times you can, even here, we talk about ideas and like, oh, this could work, but actually moving the cards around on the field and kind of seeing how the different things interact. I feel like it's a lot faster. Okay, this is my other version. I'm like, I have so many cards here. Just take all these cards. G them up. Shuffle. I wonder if I can make a dealer. This game I played today did have a dealer, so it'd be cool if I could have an AI just flip out all the cards for a setup. That'd be fun. Cool, so we have Change of Heart, which when revealed at the end of the game will swap 2 stacks directly across from each other. We're talking about points like a doubler or a modifier, something that might change, if these end up being points, change a 1 to a 5. So what we're dealing with here is piles moving across the field. Ownership of piles, so each player, the cards that are facing them, the piles that are facing them. Well, that's interesting. So the way I have it now is a Change of Heart. When revealed, just say this will change a heart. Then the whole stack would move across. It could be interesting to have a power that moves just the secrets. Swap just the secrets underneath the piles, not the whole pile. We're brainstorming here, so we're not going to worry too much about right or wrong. Important part of brainstorming is just get the ideas out there. Don't be too judgmental in the beginning, because you want to really encourage that flow of ideas. Okay, so we're talking about swapping the secrets. Oh, that was the other thing. Destroy all secrets under, destroy all other secrets under this pile. I don't love this as an idea because I generally don't like negating the actions that players had taken. But I'll write it down anyways, just because I think come up with, it might lead to, even if it's a terrible idea itself, it might lead to good ideas in the future. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, these cards have a lot of numbers on them. That's a lot of different numbers. Destroy all secrets under a pile. Ooh. Okay, so that was one. It said swap. Oh, did I write that one down? When the secret is revealed, turn the top of the stack into a secret. Okay. Reverse secrets. All secrets except this one, because you don't want to go infinite. Become face up cards and all. Man, for all of the piles, all secrets in this pile. Become face up cards and all face up cards become secrets. So that could be fun. If you have, especially if you have something that's like this, and then, because often you'll get just like a whole crazy pile of secrets. I realize I'm not stacking these numerically correctly, but if it's like this, then you take this one out, and this one was, oh, it's the reversal pile, then oh, that becomes crazy, because then all these, all of a sudden, become the face-up cards, and all these become the secrets. Yeah, and then you have 2 Heartbreakers. So all of a sudden that pile goes from 1 point bonus points to -4 points. So that's kind of a cool thing. Alright, in case you're just joining us, we're brainstorming some power ideas for my game Heartcatchers. Gonna finish this up in a little bit. So mostly just worked on Heartcatchers today. I'd thought about doing some more, just the general brainstorm. But I feel like we're on a roll here with, came up with a lot of great stuff for this, actually. It's been, I feel like I'm making a lot of progress on this game, which is always nice. If you do want to do a quick brainstorm or talk more about the chain games, or the social networked chain games, I didn't actually choose one of those ideas for this new genre of game that we're creating last week. Didn't get to make a ton of progress with that because I was working more on Heartcatchers, but hopefully this week I'll have more time to put some more of those Twitter games into circulation. Well, but yeah, if anyone wants to do a brainstorm, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to finish up brainstorming some card powers for the rest of it. Or if anyone has any questions, anything about their games they want to talk about, questions about digital playtesting or Tabletop Simulator, let me know. I got about a little more than 10 minutes left here on the stream. So is there anything you want to chat about? We can do that. And I'll just pet this cat so that he doesn't stick his claws in my arm, because that's what he does. You want to be on TV? And every time I try and grab me, he scurries out of the room because he doesn't like being on TV. Alright, what else can we do for powers? It's interesting about this version 2, because it's 18 cards now instead of 20. And for some games too, you don't necessarily have with the numbers too. I guess that would be, you don't have as big of a stack because you might not have the thing. Someone might have put a 4 down on top of it or a 5, and you're not able to make as big stacks. So you often get like 3 or 2 stacks. Combine stacks? That could be combine this stack with the stack to the right. Okay, that could be interesting with a wraparound. This could be cool. Man, I'm just sowing so much chaos. I don't know if this is going to be better. I'm a little concerned that these powers might make it too chaotic. Because it's cool when crazy stuff happens, but it's also nice to have some idea. Like, if you make these carefully laid plans and all of a sudden everything is all over the place, it can be funny, but it can also be, you know, do you feel like your choices mattered? Which is, you want your choices to matter. Yes, if you had something like this, for example. And you revealed this secret, and it said combine this with the stack to the right, then this whole thing, oh yeah. Let's say that there was some secrets under here. One thing for that. If this is going to be a rule, probably have it. I don't want to get it too crazy for how you reveal the secrets. Try. Player must reveal their partner's secrets from left to right. Yeah, because if this was revealed here and all of a sudden these stacks were combined, and then it would wrap around, if there's nothing to the right, it would come back around here, so you could end up with one big stack. That could be kind of cool. I'd have to play around with that a little functionally to make sure it didn't get... And then if there was the new doubler card in here. Yeah, that could make a big thing. Or if there's a change of heart, can I get just one card out? I guess not. Oh, this is weird stacking now. Interesting. Huh. Weird. Yeah, if there's a change of heart in here, all of a sudden, this whole pile comes here and this pile is here. Now the ones are combined. So with change of heart, that could be pretty cool. Including secrets, including revealed secrets. So in this version, you'd have to keep the revealed secrets with the stacks. So you might have to have it, because right now you just pull out all the secrets, there's not too much complexity to it. Reveal the secrets one stack at a time. Resolve any combining. Change of hearts first. Oh, that would be interesting too. Any combining first. because you'd have to have an order of operations for that, which would be a little tricky. So like, oh, do I do the change of heart? Do I swap these two, or do I combine the two first? Combining first, then change of hearts, then points. Modifiers. This is getting really complicated. Yeah, I'm not sure if I wanted to go too much in this direction, but testing. Gotta test it. It's a stupid question, but what do you use for voice chat when doing playtesting digitally? Discord. Yeah. If you go ahead and join the Seattle Facebook group that I had posted, or I'm going to do the remote playtesting one as well. Yeah, let me do an invite here. Oh, general. Oh, looks they might have changed the open invite, but yeah, if you do the Seattle one, you'll find the link to Discord, and I use that for voice for everything. We don't have cameras set up yet for our playtest, so we're just doing voice only, but Discord has been very great, very easy for connecting. Some people use Zoom as well, which has good voice. Some people use Skype. I don't know why they would do that. Discord is great because, and if you haven't used it yet, like just totally jump in there and start messing around with it, because you can make rooms that make it really easy for people to hop into a different channel. So you might have 20 people in your playtest. But you can separate out into different tables digitally on different channels, so you're not all trying to talk over each other. So you can basically make your own little voice chat room together. So it's been really handy. Hey Mother says, I was up too late playing Stardew Valley last night on the new laptop, so I have no need for extended brainstorming tonight. Fair. Oh, I put so many hours into Stardew Valley. I should probably get back into it. I am very grateful that I'm able to do my work remotely and digitally, and that things haven't changed too much, but I was actually supposed to be on vacation starting today. I might want to take some time and actually plan a vacation. Well, I'll plan a vacation for later in the year, but it would be nice to take a few days just to play some video games and chill and stuff, because I've been very busy and I miss it. I miss just taking a break and playing some games. I put like 200 hours or something into Stardew Valley, at least. Senior Bob, cool. Created a Discord account today. Excellent. Yeah, it's great. You can just easily create your own server for free. Everybody now has a server. You don't need to do that necessarily. You can also just connect with people and then do a one-on-one or like a small group voice chat on there. Or you can just make your own server and invite people into the server to hang out and chat. It's great for family and friends too. If you just have that open and just pop in, it's so much easier to do a group call or a group voice chat on there than trying to organize some sort of weird phone thing. So my friends and I just have a Discord server, and then when we're playing games, we'll just be on there and someone can pop into the channel, and then we'll be like, hey, you want to play this game together? So it's very cool and fun and very handy. The other nice thing for the playtesting nights that we do, having it be like a room where someone can show up, because before it was a Skype chat, and it's harder to just hop into a Skype chat, and you're just kind of there with everyone, and trying to divide it up can be super weird. So yeah, definitely recommend Discord, and if you have any questions or complications with it, just let me know. Yamana says, I'm torn between I hate fishing, I don't have the Twitch reflexes for fishing, and who needs fish anyway? I felt the same way. This is Stardew Valley fishing. It made me very mad for a very long time. And then I just did it some more, and once you get better rods and lures and stuff, it makes it a lot easier. Once your skill goes up too, I think it makes it easier. So you do kind of have to be bad at it for a while, which can be very frustrating. But yeah, for me, I really didn't like it at first, but then I just did it enough that it became fun. I'm only in 12 Discord servers. I only made 2 of them. Dang, I think that's even more than me. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I'm also in 12. I've been in more. I've kind of come and gone from a few of the different Discord servers because it gave me a lot. That's the one thing I would say. So Discord has voice and text chat, and you can make a bunch of different channels for both of them, and you can have hundreds of people in there, and they're all chatting at the same time. So it's a little bit like a chat room where it can get kind of intense. Some people are better at keeping up with that. For me, I go in and see that I've missed 100 messages and become overwhelmed. I tend to use it just more functionally for hopping into the voice chats. But the nice thing about having the text chat is you can pin messages if you want to have a calendar or different bots in there. You can make it or for posting the text, the Tabletop Simulator server and password for the game that you're trying to test. It can be pretty easy to manage things in there. I found out how to stream DVDs over Discord. Interesting, I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm going to schedule stay-at-home order movie nights. That's fun. I have thoughts about the design decisions behind the fishing mechanism dynamics. Fair, totally fair. Been mulling pedagogical approaches and fishing mastery algorithms and ludonarrative dissonance today. That sounds like a really fun day. Yeah, fishing is interesting. So many games have fishing. World of Warcraft has fishing. I always feel like fishing is kind of the throwaway thing, and I've been fishing in real life and trying to capture the feel of fish. Like, oh, fishing, you just stand around forever and then maybe you get something. I think like digitally capturing the really fun parts of fishing without, like, you don't have to necessarily have the grind in there. Yeah. Fishing is hard. Capturing fishing digitally is hard. But I think that's about all the time we have today. I got kind of sidetracked there with the Stardew Valley and the fishing, but we made some good progress today. I feel like there was one more power I was looking at for Heartcatchers. Combined stacks. That's probably enough for now. I might play around with that a little bit more. I still wanted to catch the tail end of the playtesting. Yeah, the NUAC playtesting. So might pop in over there and check that out. I want to get these changes into Heartcatchers, make a couple of different versions, pop it over into Tabletop Simulator. Shoot, I think it's not quite ready yet. But I did I post? I don't think I had And Then We Died done at that point. Log in with me. I can't do this right now. I won't worry about posting. I got And Then We Died in there, so that is available. I'm not exactly sure how to search for things on Tabletop Simulator. Maybe I just search here. Oh. You can do that. Cool. I'll post a link. The first thing that I posted in the Tabletop Simulator workshop is here. Yeah, so you can go ahead and check that game, because the cool thing about, another cool thing, there are many cool things for getting games into Tabletop Simulator. Once you get them in there, you can actually publish them and make them available on the Steam Workshop, which is good for if blind play testing or you want to get people just to do some iterations on them. Getting your rules in there too is important. You can't just hand it off to someone and hope that they figure it out. But yeah, you can get it up in public and have other people play it. So I don't think, because I would love to have some of you play Heartcatchers and check it out. For now since I have the game here locally for me, I can invite other people. I can make a server and have people play the game. It's not something yet that you can get on the Steam workshop, but eventually, once I make a few more iterations, I think I might get it up there and have it public for some people to play, or at the very least, I'll be playtesting it. Hopefully you all are able to join one of the playtests that I've been posting about. Bring your own games or just come to check out what's going on there, because I think it's very valuable just to see what other people are doing. It's a good social outlet too. Everyone in the tests is really cool. It's fun to be able to hang out and do some stuff. Whew, yeah. Hello, Quoten Schwartz. Thanks for joining us. We're actually just about ready to finish up here, but appreciate you popping in. Bob says, guess I could put my fishing card game on Tabletopia. Yeah, you totally should. You should get in on one of those playtests as well. I've had some people asking me individually on Twitter and other places about setting up playtests. As I mentioned, like, my schedule is actually pretty crazy right now, so if you do want to test with me specifically, suggest joining the Seattle Tabletop Game Designers. We do weekly events, and the New York City Playtest is also doing events. Hop in there. I'll be playtesting most times that is happening. Yeah, that's going to be about it for today. Thank you so much for designing with me, throwing ideas back and forth. Hope you appreciated this. If you ever have any questions or thoughts about the stream, feel free to let me know either here in the chat or on Twitter. My goal is to make it fun and interesting for people, so anything about flipping back and forth between tabs, if I'm going too much into the weeds or not enough into the weeds, I want to hear all of it and all your feedback. Senior Bob, I still have your feedback in mind for Saturdays. Saturdays are tough. Saturday's my day off. But I would like to stream more, so I'm always looking at my schedule and seeing what else I can fit in there. But for now, this is going to be it. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week. I'll be back on Thursday to play some casual Magic, and then back again on Tuesday to do another board game design stream. Most likely doing more stuff on Tabletop Simulator. Maybe test out Tabletopia. Haven't checked that out yet, but definitely interested in checking out all the platforms and seeing what all the options are. Yeah, if you like the stream, feel free to follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get Twitch Prime for free, which gives you a free sub, which is super fun. You follow me on Twitter as well. And I also post the replays of the design chats up on YouTube if you want to watch that. Or they hang out on Twitch for a little bit. I do the highlights, so you can watch that if you missed the show. Don't sweat the Saturday thing. I want to help. I want to do what the people want. Yeah. I'll see you online. If not before the next stream, I'll catch you later and see you around the table. Bye.